Hello, and welcome to Leadership TrailMix. The Olympics are over, but not here. This is the second and last Olympic episode of Leadership TrailMix. I am Miguel Oliveira, and for the next 5 to 10 minutes, we'll be together looking at people leadership lessons I'm having the honor to witness while being in Paris for the 2024 Olympics. My goal is that at the end of it, we can have some food for thought and inspiration to be a better version of ourselves, not only for our team at work, but for everyone we cross paths with. The leadership lesson for us as leaders and our teams today come from high diving. I had the opportunity to watch the men 10 meters high diving competition, and all I can say is, wow. What those athletes do, the precision, the balance, at times it feels like they were flying. Talk about letting go. Out of the 100 plus jumps I saw at the competition that day, a few things really resonated with me. One of them is related to the title of this episode, and the other to a connection of behaviors I observed after the jumps that we can apply to our own professional lives and encourage our teams to do the same. Starting with the former, I once heard that if you want to spot a psychologist in a room, pay attention when someone walks in. Everyone will look at the person walking in, while the psychologist will look at how others are looking at the person walking in. A big generalization, I know, of course, but kind of true to me and what happened to me when I was watching the divers. More than seeing the jump, I paid attention to what was happening way before the dive, right before the dive, and after the dive. And this is where the lessons I will share today come from. I share them with you, but I'm certainly sharing them with myself, since this is an area of development for me. Out of everything I could have learned, the message I got from the divers was about guilt and resilience. And while I saw mistakes happen and the disappointment athletes probably felt when they did, what impressed me was to see them getting out of the pool as fast as possible, rinsing themselves, drying themselves thoroughly with a towel, to then a few minutes later jump in the pool again. Why do they get dried to get wet again? I have no idea, and I won't even try to guess. But it made me jealous. Wouldn't it be awesome if I could behave the same way when things don't go well? If I could very fast get rid of the negative feelings, the knot in the stomach, the burning face, and the more negative thoughts, as fast as those divers stepped out of the pool, got rinsed and dry. If you've listened to prior episodes, you probably noticed that a recurring theme is self-compassion and the acceptance of something my therapist reminded me of the other day. We have to make peace with the fact that things are not permanent. We'll make mistakes, it will hurt, but accepting them, learning from them, and moving on with no unnecessary baggage will make our lives easier. Maybe you already got it, which is awesome. But maybe you, as I do, and I know many others out there, very likely including our team members, suffer from thinking too much, letting thoughts last longer than they should. Because as I once heard, you can't prevent a bird from landing on your head, but you can for sure prevent it from building a nest on it. Well, if I allowed my brain to operate in autopilot, the nest in my head would have furniture, great decoration, a terrace, a fireplace, maybe a hot tub. And in the same way it would be hard to walk around balancing a nest in my head, I see the lingering thoughts of shame, guilt, and what-ifness preventing me from moving freely, which sometimes leads to other mistakes. You see where I'm going? As I've mentioned in prior reflections, perfection doesn't exist. Things change. Nothing is permanent. So finding the mechanisms to bounce back when things don't go as expected is super important. These mechanisms will look like something different for each of us, but here are a few I use with myself or when helping others navigate similar moments. Number 1. Stop the negative self-talk right away. Don't talk to yourself the way you wouldn't talk to others. Some of us might have grown up in environments that normalize that. Others were victims of negative talk towards them. In any case, identifying when these thoughts come in and challenging them is step number 1. Words matter even when we don't think they do. Number 2, ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Why the guilt? Why the shame? Why can't I just let go? The answer can be so many different things. In my case, It usually has to do with putting my sense of self-worth in what others think about me. But well, guess what? Most of the times, people move on, and there is only one person thinking about me and by mistake. Myself. So start with why. Go as far as 5 whys if needed to identify the root of it, and then question it. You know the self-talk I mentioned before? This is a good place to use it, not to badmouth yourself, but to hassle with your thoughts and truly question them and find the real why. Number 3, focus on both the positive and the negative. No, it's not a feedback sandwich, probably more like an avocado toast, if you will. What worked? What went well? How can I have more of that? And what could have been better? You see the nuance? Not what didn't work, but what could have been better. Again, words matter. By asking yourself these questions, you're not only making sure you're learning, but you're also reframing things in a non-binary way. All right, moving on to the second part, which complements the first one and is also related to what I saw happening at the diving competition. After each dive, I saw the athlete going straight to their coach to get a high five, a hug, but most importantly, to get feedback. It was interesting to see the coaches doing a lot of hand talk, trying to explain what they saw, and that reminded me of a concept from the book Coachability, the Leadership Superpower by Kevin D. Wilde, and that I've been applying to my own development journey. It's the concept of truth tellers, people who know you and will provide the feedback you need to improve. Among the many things Kevin says about truth tellers, the one I like the most is the call for specificity. The same way I saw coaches being able to be truth tellers to the athletes about the dive they just did, asking your truth teller for feedback on something very specific, such as a presentation, is crucial to get the type of input that will help us get better. Said differently, how do you think I'm doing? Or what do you think about me? Are not as powerful as what do you think went well and what could have I done better when facilitating our team meeting yesterday? One more thing that works for me is using the term truth teller. It shows that you're looking for the truth, not for a pat on the back or compliments. In my experience, people feel honored to be trusted as a truth teller, and it strengthened my relationship with them. But the biggest advantage for chronic thinkers like me is that someone else's eyes help us put things into perspective, test our hypotheses, and most of the times help us see that we were catastrophizing and reading too much into things. In other words, there is a freeing power in having truth tellers, but there is also a responsibility. If you're asking for the truth, be open, responsive, and act on it. Ready for our call to action? As usual, I have more than one for you to pick from. The first one is, can you pay attention to your emotions in the coming days and identify when you talk to yourself negatively? If that happens, can you try to turn the self-talk urge into a questioning one and finding the why behind it? If it's not an area of development for you, do it to help someone else in your team or not. The second one is about truth tellers. Simple. Can you identify and nominate one and ask for specific feedback? As for your team, can you share the concept of truth tellers with them and encourage them to find their own? This might be the beginning of a revolution in your team and organization and the first step in starting or reigniting a culture of feedback. If you want to learn more about Coachability, you can go to thecoachability.com/resources. There you can also find out about how to acquire the book, which I strongly recommend. And here is an opportunity to get it for free. Be my truth teller by sending an email to miguel@leadershiptrailmix.com, sharing your thoughts about this episode, or just interact with my LinkedIn post about it. 3 people will be randomly selected 3 weeks from the date this episode is being released and will get the book or the audiobook Coachability, the Leadership Superpower as a gift. That easy. And with that, we'll close today's reflection. Thank you for listening, take care, and talk soon.